Hello. So this is Skeptic TV, and we've got an interesting topic that we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about natural disasters, why they're natural, not down to something else, and pick up on any silly anti-science explanations that people come up with. We've got Sound of Silence with us. We've got Lafayette and Free. We've got Tilson, Dutch Liam as well. And I believe we've got one or two other people that might be chipping in a little bit during the show. And we are welcome for calls. You've just got to add Skeptic TV to your Skype. So, which one of you lovely people is going to start for me? Who's going to start? Shall I pick on sound?
Yeah, I knew you'd pick on me.
Yeah,
well, shall
because
we
you said I
just?
couldn't go row to start. So
Yeah, well, I said you
that.
couldn't go row as the start to the show. But shall we just explain why this is where we decided to talk about it this
Yeah.
week?
Yeah.
It is because of the recent earthquake in Japan.
And can I say, still ongoing. They are getting serious aftershocks. Um, they're still coming in at like 4, 5, and occasionally 6 on the Richter scale, which isn't good for anyone living in that part of Japan at the moment.
Yeah, and then it's also this was I think the biggest earthquake to hit Japan since they began taking official records in I think the 1880s.
Yeah.
And of course, it created an enormous tsunami. And I think, actually, I don't know how anybody listening on the west coast of America, I don't know whether or not anybody's experienced it there, if they want to say how bad it was. But so, yeah, not only has Japan been hit by the earthquake and by a tsunami, but also now there is the risk that the nuclear power station, which I'm sure you've all seen about, it is now going critical. I understand the.
Is it like because last I heard it had had a gas or not gas a steam explosion.
Yes. Well, there was at the time it was announced that nothing was to worry about, but of course the Japanese have something of a track history of covering up their nuclear accidents, and the latest news coming out is that one of the cores is in at least partial meltdown. So it doesn't look good. And as you say, the aftershocks, they're still, do you say sort of magnitude 7?
No, they haven't had any 7 since the day of the earthquake, but they're coming in because I've got a little iPhone app that allows me to see what earthquakes are going on. It's within a 24-hour window, and there's still lots coming in quite regularly, every 20 minutes, 30 minutes, at 4, 5, and occasionally 6 on the Richter, which is all quite strong in themselves.
And do we have Colin? Did you want to chip in? And you say that you've had your finger on the pulse of this more than any of the rest of us. Would you like to just give us the most accurate details of what's been happening? No, he's being very quiet.
Sorry, guys. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties.
Are we still broadcasting? Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, could I chip in for a moment on the nuclear reactor? I know I'm the tech guy, I should keep my mouth, but...
No, please, you know more than we do, so...
Yeah, Landon had Fredis Knox on his blog TV just this afternoon. That was like 1.5 hours ago. And there they explained the current situation with the nuclear reactor. And meltdown will be very unlikely with the reactor that they have. What probably happened is that with the explosion we saw, it was either a steam explosion or an explosion of hydrogen. That can happen when you have a nuclear reactor overheating. And what probably means for the partial meltdown is that part of the fuel rods melted, but it hasn't breached containment and it won't breach any containment.
Okay, they have already, haven't they, had to vent a small amount of radioactive steam?
Yes.
But I don't think it represents a real danger to anyone.
No, that's also something along the lines of 1,000 times background radiation, and that sounds a lot, but it isn't.
Yeah, as soon as that stuff starts getting circulated around the air, it'll be spread out over a large enough area that it might...
But they have also evacuated an area of 20 kilometers from the site, so I don't think there's any human lives at risk from this leaking.
No, they're still operating the nuclear reactor. If it actually was beyond control and they couldn't control it anymore, they would evacuate everyone in the area, including the personnel at the site.
And one thing I wanted to discuss as part of this show is why it is that natural disasters that so frequently occur in heavily populated areas. I think probably Womble would be the best person to discuss this, but why is it that Japan is so prone to both tsunamis and earthquakes?
Well, what it is, tectonically, Japan is an island arc chain. Um, it's at the leading edge of the Eurasian tectonic plate. And as the Pacific plate is pushing down, it's creating heat and friction. So the heat is causing some melting of magma or rock to produce magma, which rises and forms the volcanoes. The friction, as this plate is subducting, means that this downgoing slab is not going down smoothly, and it will not move for a long period of time. There's a sudden jolt of movement, which is when you get an earthquake happening, and so that's why it's a combination of these two. It means it's a very active area geologically.
And unless I'm mistaken,
well, I thought Japan got hit.
No, go on, you were going to say, Liz?
Well, I was saying that I thought that Japan got hit. I thought that Japan got hit by a lot of earthquakes and natural disasters because they're all so sinful.
No, what it is there's a demigod that holds a fish, a stone over the head of the giant fish that the Japanese islands sit on, and if the demigod blinks, the fish wiggles, and so the demigod's obviously got something in his eye at the moment, so the fish is having a little party. Hence why there's
but in all
the
seriousness,
earthquakes.
But the reason Japan also has so many earthquakes is because Japan lies in the middle of where about 4 tectonic plates are converging. So
yeah,
it's in a pretty big hot spot.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the picture that Colin has put up on the Blog TV broadcast for us, you can see, well, all the red dots are where we've had some of the recent earthquakes by the look at them, but you can see that there's the Pacific plate immediately on the right of the screen as you look at it. On the sort of top and left hand of the screen, you've got the Eurasian plate, and then you've got the Philippine plate just pushing up at the bottom. So it's got a few sources of seismic activity, and it is under a lot of pressure in that area. It's also got some of the highest plate movement from the Pacific plate. It's moving at 92 millimeters a year. And that's quite a lot, really.
I think it's weird that so many sinners seem to live around fault lines.
Well, this is what I was going to say, is that there is often a good reason for why a lot of people seem to live in areas which are prone to natural disasters, particularly volcanoes and earthquakes.
Well, the volcanoes...
Well, isn't that because humanity, we've tend to move out to the coasts because there's a lot of natural resources and food at the coast and trade, and many of the coastlines are up against fault lines, as I recall, and are prone to tsunamis as well.
Yes, exactly. There's also the fact that a lot of civilizations spring up along rivers, both as a source of water and trade. And
yeah,
also,
and the same with the oceans and seas. It's the trading aspect.
And a particular favourite are floodplains because the land is very flat and very fertile, so it's good for farming. But of course,
and it's got a pretty river.
It's prone to flooding.
I think we lost the audio on Block TV.
Is anybody saying? Oh, I've lost the chat.
Hyena.
Thumbs up if you can hear us.
Oh, no,
thumbs up.
They have
no, they have audio.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, we got a thumbs up.
We're
Good.
back.
Oh, we were worried then. I know on my Skype audio, my computer keeps dropping in and out. I think my headset is finally giving up and dying. I think it's dying because it feels shame for being so similar to the one Neff wears.
I realise, though, I have the worst possible name for this because either people say we can't hear sound, meaning me, or they're talking about silence and people think that they've lost. So,
again, they're talking about you.
Yeah. Or I think people are talking about me when they're actually talking about having lost the sound, so I carry on oblivious. But
yeah.
So there's also, as you were saying, a lot of people like to live on the slopes of volcanoes simply because the ash that is produced by the volcanoes increases the soil fertility. This is part of the reason why Japan is so heavily populated.
Yeah, because they've got the very fertile soil for growing lots of crops.
Yes. And also there's a lot of people who live around earthquake faults simply because earthquake fault lines bring up a lot of things like water if you're living in a desert environment. Indeed, there's a famous Persian civilization who drew all their water from an earthquake fault line. The trouble was that it meant that they were frequently flattened by earthquakes. So, they're the only people who lived in the desert for miles around. So it seems like very bad luck that they were continually struck by earthquakes, but it was simply because that was the only place they could live. And there's also a lot of things like mineral ores are brought up by hydrothermal water through fault lines. So it's no coincidence that a lot of people live in areas which are prone to natural disasters. And that presumably is why it's so common that they're often blamed on some deity.
I also think the reason why earthquakes and natural disasters are blamed on deities is it's because of the power behind it. I still have problems of trying to fathom the forces behind an earthquake, the tectonic plates. It seems simple enough, like two plates moving, just sort of touching each other, and then we have earthquakes. But when you think about it, I think it was Lewis who brought it up that the Earth's angle actually has tilted slightly because of the earthquake in Asia.
It was extremely slight, but it was still enough for 4 inches.
I might have to double check that because I think it's possible, but I'm not sure. I know the movement of the tectonic plates will change sort of the topography of the surface. I mean, obviously there is the sudden change that happens when a fault moves, but over time it will bow and buckle certain parts of the local area.
No, but the thing is, Womble, that what I was saying earlier when we were talking earlier, you weren't in the call, was that some geophysics group in Italy determined that due to the latest Earth actually changed by 4 inches, which in and of itself doesn't seem like much, but imagine how much energy it takes to move the planet.
I can comprehend and get my head around some of the scales of energy involved. I know it's a significant tragedy, but I spent a good portion of Friday geeking out over the whole earthquake because it's whilst there's a human tragedy on one side, but I've studied how the planet works. I'm not saying I'm the world's biggest expert on it. I've got a fairly good, solid understanding on how it works, and it's just immense. It's like, imagine your favorite sports team scoring knockout wins in all of its games, in all of its that it plays in a season or two, and being champions.
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, it's that kind of wow moment.
Did you have to change your pants many times that day?
Well, I was so I couldn't get too excited publicly, and also I wanted to respect the fact that it was a bit of a human tragedy. We've just had, well, not just. There's a question that's come up in chat from Hicks35. Now that this earthquake hit, what's the chance of another big one, or will it just be smaller aftershocks now? What happens after you have a large earthquake is you can sort of immediately straight afterwards, in terms of a few hours, you can have aftershocks nearly as big as the original earthquake. But then what generally tends to happen is as the Earth is settling and as that area of the fault is adjusting to the new position of the different parts of it, you will have decreasing magnitude aftershocks. That region will have had a massive stress release, and in theory it shouldn't have an earthquake anywhere near that powerful for some time, because you've got to allow time for the stress to build back up. Now it all depends on what's happening in the local area in terms of where those stress forces are building up. To contrast this recent earthquake with the New Zealand one, there was the one last year that I can't remember off the top of my head how powerful it was, but then the earthquake last month or the other week in Christchurch was a lot more powerful than that earthquake last year. So it does depend where on the fault you're talking about.
But as I recall, I heard in the news that the earthquake in Christchurch actually was slightly predicted by scientists, as the initial earthquakes happening in New Zealand some months prior to that, they could actually predict the aftershock when they will occur.
To more kind of, there are you do expect these earthquakes to happen, the aftershocks to happen, and if you know what a I'm sorry, I've got someone in the room that's just gone bonkers after plugging into listening to the audio on Blog TV. I think she's got to start her volume. Um, she's made me lose track, and I will cause her beige later. Yeah, you turn it off, woman. Use it through your headset.
Could I take over for a moment if you're going to have a fight?
No, it's fine. I'll deal with the pain afterwards. But what I was trying to say was, if you know the history and you can build up a picture of sort of the historic earthquakes in a region, I know if you use the example of the fault plane that runs through Turkey, I can't remember exactly where it all goes off the top of my head, but you start at one end of the fault and there's this pattern of every kind of 20, 30 years at these certain points. It's not exact. You have a sequence of earthquakes and it finally ends up down the other end, and then it goes back to the start. And so you can sort of start to develop an idea of when earthquakes are roughly likely to hit.
Yes, I was going to say this because when an earthquake happens, the stress is relieved on that part of the fault and then it's transferred further along to the next one. So yeah. I believe the next big earthquake to hit Japan will be further north of this most recent one. Because I think that fault line, the sequence of earthquakes runs from south to north. The trouble is that we find it very difficult to predict earthquakes. We know that it may be in, say, 20 or 30 years' time, but it's still a problem with earthquake prediction. We cannot predict it down to within a couple of months or a couple of weeks.
Although we are actually getting much better at picking up some of the more longer term and kind of more subtle strains that develop over time within rocks. I was at a conference last year that was to do with plate tectonics, and that was one of the talks was on earthquake detection.
Yeah, I was just going to say, this earthquake, like most of the earthquakes that hit Japan, hit just off of Honshu, and I don't think too many have hit off of Hokkaido, which if you go any more north, you're pretty much going to be off the coast of Hokkaido. So I'm not sure what the history is of the area.
There's a question come up in chat from Jay Hyena.
Jay Hyena.
Yes, Jay Hyena. They said that they heard that shocks travel through the earth and may cause quakes on other side of the earth. Is this true? Kind of. What happens is the earthquake waves will travel around the earth. There's some shadow zones where they don't travel, but after a while they'll sort of peter out as the energy is dispersed. The only thing that we know of that can cause a shock wave that will make the planet ring like a bell, and you will sort of detect the earthquake waves right on the other side of the planet, and so you get the whole picture of the structure of the earth, is nuclear bombs and all the nuke testing. So unless one of the nuclear power plants does explode, we're not likely to have some of these earthquake waves going all the way around the planet.
There's also a Krakatoa as well. Large volcanic eruptions can also create vibrations that can be felt on the other side of the planet. Indeed, some of them go around the Earth 2 or 3 times.
With Krakatoa, the shock wave echoed around 6 times, I think, or reverberated even.
Indeed. It's true, actually, that the vibrations from an earthquake do travel to the other side of the Earth, and it's by the means by which they travel through the center of the Earth that we've been able to deduce the internal composition of the Earth. So, for instance, because an earthquake generates 2 kinds of waves, it creates what's called a pressure wave, which moves backwards and forwards, and
it's like
shear
a push
waves,
and shove.
yeah, which move side to side. And side-to-side shear waves cannot travel through liquid media. So by looking at where the shear waves can be felt on the surface from an earthquake, we can tell what proportion of the inside of the Earth is liquid. But there's
also the fact that another thing that we do feel after an earthquake of this magnitude, for example, after the tsunami that hit, after the earthquake in 2004, the one in Indonesia, the tsunami that it produced was actually so massive that it actually went around the globe, I think 3 or 4 times before it actually, settled.
Yeah, the energy dissipated.
And I may be wrong about this, but I think actually the Earth below your feet right now will be moving as a result of the Japan earthquake, but it goes up and down by about a meter, but it does so over a 6 to 12 hour period, so you won't notice it happening. But the vibrations are still going through the ground
we're not
underneath
going to necessarily pick up anything significant over here unless you've got some very sensitive seismic detection equipment. And just a quick point on the waves that Sound was talking about earlier. They're the body waves on the planet. They don't necessarily cause a lot of damage. The damage caused by on an earthquake is the effect of the surface waves that affect the upper portions of the crust.
DPR Jones says the tsunami created by Noah's flood was bigger.
He needs a tsunami up the arse.
I might just see if I can get Colin to put up a apparently very complicated diagram, but I think it's quite interesting, which is about how we have managed to deduce the internal structure of the Earth based upon earthquake waves. What are you giggling at, Womble?
My friend giggled. I do have one of the audience members actually within 2 meters from me, and if she mentions a certain film, there will be beach later for her.
I have one. I can one up you. I can one up you, Womble. I have a member of Skeptic TV sitting across from me.
Yeah, I know.
I
don't think Chris was licking the parking ticket as you were getting out to drive out the car park earlier today.
How do you know how he's looking at me, huh?
No, I was licking the ticket that got us out of the car park. We have a very odd kind of feedback in how we chat and stuff. Yes, so we need to get back on topic.
I would say, well, if we just concentrate on earthquakes for the time being, I think it might be nice to go through some of the historical causes that people have linked to earthquakes, because actually, Eritano, who's in the chat on Blog TV at the moment, said this earlier. Yes, Airy the Fairy. He said, I don't know whether or not he was being flippant, but he was saying that gays are responsible for natural disasters. But one that I did want to bring up is that he's not too far from the truth, in that the ancient Romans thought that buggery caused earthquakes, which brings a new expression to the phrase, did the earth move for you? But I do rather wonder how on earth they managed to actually make that connection.
I know quite a few religions in the past have attributed natural disasters to sin and being a punishment by deity of choice.
The part of the reason why this show was set up was because the YouTuber i2i35 has claimed that the Japanese earthquake was linked to sin,
which is so. I'm just not going to go there. I could go off and rant and rage and scream and stuff, but I'm not going to. It might get in the way of my.
Well, in the Nordic mythology, earthquakes are actually caused by the god Loki being chained to a mountain as a punishment for tricking Balder into killing his brother. And he's having a poisonous snake dripping venom into his eyes, but his wife is standing over him with a bowl, picking up the venom, and every time the bowl fills up, she has to throw out the venom, and some of the venom hits his eyes, and he squirms, and his squirming is what causes earthquakes.
That is the simplest explanation that anybody could have.
Yeah, I know some religions do have explanations that don't involve the sin of humanity as being caused.
Let's be honest though. Which story is crazier? The story that Tilden just brought up, or the one about a guy who was born of a virgin who was impregnated by a ghost or something?
Well, Nephilim Free would probably say that the craziest story is to do with tectonic plates being pushed down into the earth, but
he's just
we'll move on.
Yeah.
It's not worth getting
so there are various stories. I mean, just as a question to the audience, does anyone know actually the range of sort of primary and secondary hazards that come associated with natural disasters? Because there are quite a few.
I would say the first one is probably a lack of infrastructure. which the sewage system will spread diseases, if we saw in Haiti during their earthquakes. Basically obliterated an entire country because of their poor infrastructure being obliterated.
Well, that's why Japan is so much better off, because they've been ready for something like this for a long time.
Yeah,
Because
I
they've been
mean,
used to something like that. I mean, in Haiti, they had bamboo shacks. You know, the whole country was going to get leveled if they got
but
hit by
thing is, though,
anything remotely destructive.
thing is though, these sorts of disasters is even if first world country will be quickly, depending on how severe the disaster is, will be reduced to third world, kind of temporarily, because I mean the thing that actually caused most of the damage in Japan was the tsunami. They've got very good building code or whatever it is, to protect them against, to protect, sort of deal with the fact that they're in a seismically active area. But it was the tsunami, and it's not just in terms of water, potable water. Once the earthquake hits and knocks everything to rubble, you've got a lot of stuff that could be flammable. There's the refinery that's been on flame. If that sort of fire catches in a residential area where you've got lots of damaged houses, there's gas mains that could be leaking, or just pockets of gas building up. You're going to have a fire, and it might take you days to be able to put it out.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the people that are outside looking into Japan right now, you know, they think that these nuclear reactors they're all failing because of the earthquake. Not really. A lot these nuclear reactors were all, what I read on the news was that they were ready for they were each built to withstand a 10,000-year earthquake. The reason that they're failing is because all the ones that are having problems are cooled by seawater, and the tsunami has completely fucked that up. So it was the tsunami, much more so than the actual earthquake.
But shouldn't they have foreseen that the earthquake would most likely bring a tsunami as well? Because that's what happened when earthquakes happen in the sea.
I don't know. It depends. Apparently, one of them was built in the 70s.
People were stupid in the 70s, as we all know.
Well, yeah.
Everyone was on drugs in the 70s.
No, that was the 60s. But yeah, 70s. So there's, I mean, so the idea of this fire and the disease and stuff, that's what we would refer to as a secondary problem with an earthquake. One of the sort of primary things is a phenomenon called liquefaction. Now, liquefaction is the thing that caused the Cyprus freeway to collapse quite spectacularly in the 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake. And what happens in liquefaction is you've got an unconsolidated ground. It's not strongly kept together. You're talking sandy areas, reclaimed land. And what happens is, because of the shaking, the solid particles lose contact with each other and they get surrounded by liquid. Any strength in that ground goes, and you can have sound fountains. Anything that's solid and built on them will crumble and collapse. And in the Cyprus freeway, what happened was, because it was a double-decker freeway, the top deck came down, crushed the bottom deck, and there was a lot of people trapped in that. And this is something that can happen in any earthquake zone where you've got lots of poorly consolidated sediments. And spectacularly in the 1980 Mexico earthquake, because the area is a dried lake bed, they could actually see the ground behaving like water. They could see it actually rolling in waves towards them like you would see on sea waves.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's this is why I always sort of bear in mind it is a human disaster, but B, this is why I geek out so much at this sort of stuff, when you actually start to understand what's going on. And gibberish, it's in my skull. How on earth could you see my brain?
I was thinking of another thing. What about the nutrition of the farming ground? As we're watching the video here, we see how the tsunami is just going through the land. Because I've taught that the nutrition of the soil is very based on the top. And if a tsunami comes, wouldn't that remove most of the nutrition?
Chris has an answer.
Yeah, I studied Japan as part of my history, but in Japan, about 50% of the land is actually usable for anything that includes farming, living, anything like that. The center of the largest island is almost all mountains, so it's almost unusable. They don't even have roads up most of those. So what they're doing now is the farmland that's getting washed over, it's usually just a layer of topsoil with a lot of hard rock underneath it. So it's taking all these nutrients away. They can't rebuild that. They're going to have to ship the soil back in and start planting anew. They can't start all over.
Another problem I foresee is how wide is Japan at the widest?
It's narrower than the entire island chain of Japan is the size, the square size of California. Mm-hmm. But it stretches from almost Russia clear down into just past China.
So it's really
very long, but very narrow.
So the tsunami, in turn, could almost reach across the entire
country. But it probably would have stopped near
because of the mountains. Yeah. If it was all flat, it would have everything.
Right.
That's impressive.
Yeah, and like I said, most of this hit Honshu, which is the largest island in the island chain, which is where Tokyo, Kyoto, Honda, all those big cities are.
Places we've destroyed.
But places like Hokkaido and the other islands are probably not going to get hit as hard.
It's ironic, though, a little bit to think that they have nuclear power there. They have 35 nuclear reactors in Japan. And here in America, we're so scared about nuclear energy because we're afraid of Chernobyl. Japan was actually hit by 2 nuclear bombs.
Right. But Japan, the same reason that they have the farmland just as wherever they can, the nuclear power helps them because they need all the space they can use. Which is why you have tall buildings in almost every single city, is because they can't expand out, they have to expand up. So the nuclear power plants take the place of many other things like wind power and oil power, natural gas, because those take a lot more room to power the same amount of people. So they've pretty much perfected what nuclear technology should be in their power plants, and they've used that to power all of their islands. And almost all of those are on Honshu, unfortunately.
Because the Japanese are smart as shit.
Mm-hmm.
What would be the most effective defense against tsunamis? Because DPR Jones said that the Japanese had the best defense or anti-tsunami defense. I don't know if he was joking or not, because it's hard to tell.
Yeah, Japan actually built some artificial islands and some breakwalls. But something of this magnitude, I mean, what's washing ashore is still way too much.
The problem with the tsunami is just the sheer power and weight of water has behind it. Like DPR Jones said, a cubic meter of water weighs a ton. Now multiply that by the ocean, and that's a.
But if we can interject,
that is a lot of power. That is power, and there's no.
Yeah. I mean, I just had an interesting thought. If anyone ever talks about what would the Great Flood have been like, I know when we've been discussing this thing in the past, if you look at some of the footage of the tsunami wave going in across Japan and then scale that and the destruction up a lot, that would be what I would expect when if they're like a biblical flood was real, just much, much bigger.
But also, if you look at the footage, look at all the debris that has been lifted up and all the stuff, that would have destroyed anything in its path, including an ark.
Oh, completely. Doesn't matter how much special spaff has been used to glue the gopher wood ark together, it will just still have crumbled.
It still would. Yeah. Well, then again, they did have God magic on their side, so...
Yeah, I did say special spaff. I'm assuming that no one here actually understands what I mean when I say spaff.
No, that's actually a thing that I was wondering about, because when I was a kid, when I heard about the Ark story, I had a problem figuring it out. I've always been a non-believer, an atheist. But I still today, I don't know how they could believe that a huge wave smashing down on a ship would just make the ship, like, swoop at top of the water. Because I could see that, the ship would probably, with buoyancy, get up the top, but it wouldn't be in a whole piece.
No, it'll be the shattered wreckage.
Exactly, and I see, because if you want to have a ship go up like that, you need to have a steady build up, right? You can't have like a catastrophic flood.
If you look at the Creationist Museum videos where they show what the flood of Noah would have looked like.
That's
You see,
bollocks.
hold on. This is where it gets hilarious, because you see the giant tsunami that's encompassing the Earth, and as it's going around the planet, the two waves coming from opposite ends around the Earth converge directly underneath the ark because he built it exactly where these two giant waves would meet.
You
And
could
of
be
course,
double
those
fucked.
lifted it up instead of destroying it to pieces.
I hadn't seen this. I've seen
It's
the
like
one
being
where
bent over and taken savagely from behind and from from the mouth. It's not going to be a
being
pleasant
furiously spit
experience.
roasted.
Oh, yeah,
It's called
with
being
full,
Eiffel Towered.
with some super powered Superman style bukakiing going on.
Oh, you need to share that video if you can find it, because the only one I've seen is where you see this mother and kid playing whatever
Like board
game,
games or something, yeah.
and you see this huge wave coming, like, oh, it's so peaceful, God's going to kill this little kid. What a cruel fucking story.
But the thing is, I like that video because it just shows this tsunami just going and sweeping away whole houses and people and marketplaces and whatever. And you see it coming right up towards the ark, and then they just draw a veil over it and just fade out at that point. They don't actually address the question of how the ark survived.
It possibly could have caused someone to actually think about what would have happened.
Yes, that's true.
Also, the thing
Wouldn't
is
have
that
been good.
For some reason, they think that a tsunami is just a giant wave. It's not. It just comes as a giant mass
Wave
of
of
water.
death.
Well, yeah, but it's not a giant wave like the kind that you can surf on.
Yeah, you imagine people
think.
imagine a nice sparkly blue pristine wave just sort of casually sweeping across the land, where actually
what it would look like if you put a power wash hose through TPR's dodgy porn cupboard. It was so dirty and filthy that it would take months to clean.
But wouldn't a tsunami be more precisely described as a wall of water rather than a wave?
Well, it's sort
of just like a wave that doesn't stop, really, as a tsunami. But of course, it's chock full of mud and rubble and driftwood and all kinds of crap.
Yeah, dead whales and cars and boats and stuff. And you think that it's kind of got its watery hands on, so to speak.
Which actually reminds me, I saw this movie in the cinema, which is, I can't recommend it. It's called The Here By After, a new one with Matt Damon about after death. And one of the stories starts out with this French lady getting stuck in the 2004 tsunami. What happens with her is she gets lifted up by this water wave, and she gets stuck up against a tree that's fallen over, and her back of her head gets hit by the back of a car that floats down the river thingy. And she survives that. Well, she dies technically and gets revived. And I would say, with that force and a car hitting you in the back of your head, you would be fucking dead, like splattered.
Your brains would be more splattered than if you'd fallen from an 8-story building.
Yeah, and I can't recommend this story at all because it's about this bloke Matt Damon who could see people.
Matt Damon.
He's basically being a psychic, and he doesn't like it because he's one of the only real psychics. And I can recommend it. And it starts out with scientific bullshit, with someone surviving the tsunami in that manner, like getting hit by a car from behind while stuck up against a tree. Just after tsunami hits.
Well, the only reason the only survival stories that I heard were just lucky ass people who were able to get on top of trees or something, trees big enough that they were still above the water line and that they were thick enough that they wouldn't get dragged away by the tsunami. Those are the only survival stories I ever heard of from there. Besides that, it was just people who got really fucking lucky.
Yeah, because if you are in this way of the tsunami, if you hit something, you'll hit it with the force that the wave is coming with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So technically, whenever you hit, you're most likely to die or get injured badly if you just like hit a tree or something like that.
Well, just 12 inches of moving water can pick up a car. So think about an entire ocean coming inland. You know, that's what it's going to do. Holy Jesus.
But if we can bring this back to mythology for a moment, I think that one of the best explanations I've heard for the original story of Atlantis was an island in, I think it was the Mediterranean.
Was that the flood of Noah did it?
Well, that's probably Nephilim Free's favourite answer to the question. But the explanation that I had was it was an island in the Mediterranean which was swallowed up by a tsunami, and I think left absolutely no trace. But of course, word then spreads around of this, and over time it gets turned into a town that was reclaimed by the sea
By the
because
Leviathan.
the gods didn't like it. Yes, exactly. I just rather wonder how on earth that leap is made between it just being a true story.
True story, bro.
I actually wonder with these people that survive a tsunami if there are any like Noah flood believers and actually see what a flood actually does, especially with the ground. That how could they still believe that when Noah? Because I have this image that these Christians who believe in the Noah story that when Noah gets out of the ark after these a year or so, everything is just pristine shape. There's trees and there's
Oh, there'd be so
I don't
much
think many
rotted
people.
plant and animal everywhere.
The next time anyone speaks to Neff, they have to ask him, "Do you believe in Atlantis?" And if he says yes, what happened? I will guarantee you, he will say that the flood of Noah was what destroyed Atlantis.
No one's going to bet against you on that one, though.
I'll find someone dumb enough.
Micah?
Micah.
apart from the fact that nobody's ever found Atlantis or anything that.
No one found the fucking ark.
There were some legitimate possibilities for Atlantis. I think there's one is like a Minoan settlement on one of the islands in the Mediterranean. Then there's the really, really asinine things. It's in the Atlantic Ocean, which is just not true. And then I have read a book by someone that suggests it might actually be somewhere on South America, which is, I don't know how accurate that sort of story is, but it's an interesting notion to read and just.
Yeah, I heard also that
interesting,
but there was a settlement on Sicily that had got wiped out by a tidal wave or something that came aboard, and that's what Atlantis was. It was drowned in the water and became this mythical city that just fell into the ocean.
Yeah.
It could have just been, like Chris said, it could have just been a legend or a story. So much that people said, well, did you hear about this one city far away that got destroyed by a fucking tidal wave?
Like an urban legend for back in the olden days.
Yeah, an urban legend that's lasted so long that we just think it might actually be true, but who knows? For all intents and purposes, Atlantis is probably just a story. It never existed, at least in the sense that they say it did.
It could have been a story, where it's like, well, I was arguing with Per Ahlberg on a forum, he ran away, and I schooled and all the sciences. And it turns out he just got banned for calling Per Ahlberg a hoax, a fraud.
Is that what happened to me?
Yeah. The legend never is matching up with reality there.
The legend rarely ever does. Like, there's this legend that there's this one guy long ago named Jesus who had 12 guys who followed him around, and he did a bunch of miracles.
You believed that story until last year.
Hey, fuck off. I believe that story because I didn't know any better.
Oh, we're boring gibberish.
Oh, well, you can get the fuck out.
Quit whining, you pair of bitches.
I tell you what I thought was quite an interesting notion was the parting of the Red Sea as depicted in the Bible. One of the hypotheses around what that could actually have been was, first of all, that it's a mistranslation and that it was originally the parting of the Reed Sea. And the Reed Sea is a sort of very flat, wide, marshy estuary in the north of Egypt. And the hypothesis goes that it was, in fact, a tsunami. But just before the actual wave itself strikes, the tide pulls right back. The water goes way, way out. And so it would have drained the marsh completely dry, which would have given Moses, and his followers time to get across. And then, of course, when the Egyptians tried to follow them, the wave would have gone and swamped them. It does, however, make the miracle of parting this enormous mass of water into two separate bodies seem a little bit puny when it is, in fact, just crossing a marsh.
It also sounds like apologetics for the fact that we have no historical records that any Egyptian pharaoh got squashed by loads of water. We have no historical evidence that Moses actually existed. So for me, this sounds like someone trying to make an argument for this might have happened,
but you can
ignoring
understand.
everything else.
See, I don't mind people kind of thinking about how realistically it could have happened, because then they're debunking the religious naff that's gone on with this whole kind of parting of the Red Sea stuff.
But can you just imagine if the rest of that story is true? I mean, I'll come back to the 10 plagues in a minute because I think that's something I want to talk about. But you just imagine if you were Moses and you've got all your followers and you're stuck on the other side of this marsh. You imagine the luck that you suddenly think you've come across when the water magically starts disappearing off the horizon.
Yeah, but how much time did they have to pass before this ocean?
It's normally about 5 minutes. That's the great thing about tsunamis. If you know what it is you're looking for, then you've got enough time to run.
So Moses be like, "Whoa, this party," and then be everyone like, "Run, fucking run!"
Yeah,
because God might not be with us. It might close. So fucking run. We got like a few minutes, and then the pharaoh.
No, you're going on about this running thing. I do wonder whether or not Moses had actually arrived in the area in kind of this blue box motif thing with a little had a light thing on top.
Oh no!
Maybe he had this kind of little red hat thing,
or it was Stargate.
Yeah, or Stargate.
That's the other possibility. What I was going to say, I was just going to quickly say, with regards to the 10 plagues, this is completely off topic, but I love this comment. It was one of Eddie Izzard's jokes. I went to see him live, but he said, he was talking about the 10 plagues of Egypt, and he talked about the plague of frogs, and he said, there's no such thing as a plague of frogs. There's just more frogs than usual. Because frogs are not exactly a pest. They don't cause any damage or anything like that. They don't eat people or carry disease.
Well, the funny thing is that, you know, when we talk about Moses, the Catholics and a lot of other Christian churches accept that the Red Sea is a mistranslation. In fact, where the Jews crossed was not in fact the Red Sea, but the Sea of Reeds, which is farther up north.
Yeah. This is all
ground. Oh, I'm sorry, I was in the bathroom.
How broad
the Reed Sea is a marshy estuary in the north of.
How broad is it? How broad is it? How much land did they have to cover? Because if you said they have max 5 minutes, I want to know how fast old bloody fucking Moses had to run before he got squashed by water himself.
Okay, I'll find out how big it is, and we can do some debunking.
Yeah, go for
and how old were Moses back then? Was he like 100 gazillion years old?
I don't know. He was like the Energizer Bunny or some crap.
Yeah, everybody in the Bible lived to 800, but it didn't matter because they had the life force.
Because we're all getting smaller, weaker, and dumber. We're all dying earlier.
This, in spite of the evidence that there's virtually nobody older than 1,500 years who is older than 30.
And also
the fact that.
The other thing I have to think of, it's an entire nation that he's crossing this place with. It's not like him and his best friend that are racing across. No, it's a fucking entire nation with possibly women, children, everything. I would like to see an animation from.
But they're all slaves. They're all fit from loads of work.
That's true. Or exhausted.
So whilst Sound is going off being our research bitch, do we have any other questions about any other natural disaster that we could talk about?
Well, if you look at the picture that Colin put up, if the Jews are predicted to have actually crossed into Egypt, from Egypt, right around the Suez Canal, which back then was even drier than it is now. So instead of walking across the Red Sea, they think that probably what most creationists believe is that they crossed right around the Nile River, or where the word Nile is. Just make a horizontal line there. They crossed the thickest part of the Red Sea, but in reality they crossed right around where that little arrow is pointing to the Suez Canal. They weren't fucking walking over anything. They were just walking over a marsh.
don't say in reality, because there's no historical evidence that it actually happened.
Oh yeah,
the entire Exodus.
Yeah, but the Bible itself says that they just crossed where or the Bible or the
That's it.
biblical scholars say that they passed.
It says that he parted the sea.
There is in fact no evidence that they were ever even in. Uh-oh. Somebody found the flood video. Jay Hyena found it. It's
What are
just
people
laughable how Jay Hyena found the video.
Yep. Going to play it.
Oh, we're going to play it on...
Yeah, so we should have video coming up sometime in a moment.
This should be
Everyone get ready
entertaining.
for a good laugh.
Yeah, audio as well.
Is this of the Ark beautifully bobbing up through 1,000 meters of water?
It's like the Titanic couldn't handle it, but the Ark of Noah could.
The bulkheads weren't built all the way up, though, in the Titanic. Duh. They obviously didn't read Ark Building 101.
Well,
But
the
then
most
again,
impressionists who believe that God was actually holding up the Ark.
But it was made of gopher wood as well, which nobody knows
In
what
that
it is.
case, if got,
Yes.
No.
I have
I mean,
seen
we
this.
can see what's on the screen, but
I'm not
If
saying
God was
anything
holding
about
up the Ark, why could he not have like protected magically Noah's family where they were? Or would that have just been too much,
Instead of
like
having to
showing
make
he
the
had
boat?
some power?
Oh, here we go. I've just clicked refresh and I get to watch this. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, it looked like bloody lips, like this kissing movie.
Yeah.
This is the sexiest flood I've ever seen. Here it comes. Look,
Coming in
beautiful
from the
walls
side.
of water. You can watch the fish swimming in them.
Right where the Ark is, lifting it fucking up.
And the Earth's vagina really is wet there.
Yeah, I was going to say it did look like it'd be.
Yeah,
I
that's
love
how I
this
know.
scene. I love this scene. They're playing a board game, like, oh, it's so cute little children. But she's a sinner.
Yeah,
She's going to
that
die.
water.
As if anyone would have had time for doing anything other than farming in those days.
Oh, look at the children that God so killed so mercilessly.
That was an annoying
Yeah.
orange.
He's such a nice guy.
They're actually being shown doing nice things and not actual sinning.
Yeah, there should have been, orgies
Like-
everywhere and people doing lines of cocaine and
Bestiality.
Oh, here
Yeah.
it comes.
a 1960s crack party.
DPR sodomizing that girl.
Yeah.
8 ball.
So maybe this was, I don't know.
Yeah, the thing is that you don't know.
Oh, no.
That donkey's actually the beginning of a heroin mule.
Yeah. Oh. Oh, sorry.
So we didn't get to see the Ark gently floating to the top.
No. Just,
Oh, damn.
God used his transporter that he borrowed from the Enterprise to beam it up.
I love that photo. That just cracks me up every time I
That
see
is
it.
an epic photo.
And the
Like
Cuirassier asks, doesn't the Bible say that the flood was caused by 40 days of rain?
Yes.
And also talks about the waters from the deeps and the windows of the heavens.
Yes, although, I mean, I think a lot of the new creationists say that, of course, it did rain because water was being ejaculated. In some cases, they say it was being ejaculated high enough to reach the moon.
The Bukaki Fury.
Yes, the lunar
Can't you
Bukaki theory.
fail theory?
I love that photo of this little ark which looks like a matchbox dodging whirlwinds and water spouts and strikes of lightning.
Does that look like it could float to anyone? Does that look like it's seaworthy to anyone? It looks like a giant fucking rectangle.
It's a turd.
Well, what
It
also
looks like
I-
a very difficult turd to pass if it is a turd.
what I also imagine is there's only one window and there's loads of animals on it, and Noah's family is going on day out, day in of shoveling shit out of that one single window so they don't suffocate.
But
That's
also,
all what happens in that ark.
See, my friend that I'm staying with tonight, the whole idea that he didn't have food, he was sensible. He took takeout. He had 2x2 of every living organism.
I'll take everything on the menu twice. Yeah. But the fact is also, but not just that, what fucks up the entire idea of Noah's story and how he could have repopulated the earth. When he gets off of the ark, he pays tribute to God by giving burnt offerings of every animal to God. So doesn't that automatically kill off one of the animals, which in turn kills off the entire species of the animal?
There are 7 animals or something.
Yeah, my theory is that he was a Danish bloke, Noah, because the first thing he does when he gets out of the ark is plant a vineyard, get drunk and naked. That has to
and
be a
falls
Danish
asleep in
guy.
the tent.
Catch him.
Yeah,
What I also don't understand is why would he have him save the unclean animals? There's no reason to if they're unclean and are going to pose a problem in the future.
We're making the sense here of applying reasoned, rational logic to something that is.
Right. I've done a little bit of research into the possibility of what might have been meant by the crossing or the parting of the Red Sea and the crossing of the Red Sea, and I've done a sort of back of the envelope calculations, and I've estimated that Noah and his fellow slaves would have had to have been running at about 60 miles an hour to get across in time.
What about,
maybe they all caught cheetahs and rode them.
Oh my God! Someone has to Photoshop that. Moses and the entire nation of Israel on cheetahs running across. Oh yes, dinosaurs. Velociraptors for the win.
And also, just for shits and giggles' sake, it's either that or they're on massive amounts of speed.
What was that? Was this the Red Sea or this other place you were talking about?
The Reed Sea.
So this was the Reed Sea. They had to run 60 miles an hour.
Potentially, because I've estimated a kind of the narrowest point of it. It's about 5 miles wide, and so you have about 5 minutes between the ocean pulling out and the tsunami striking. So that's about 1 mile a minute.
If he knows when the tsunami is going to happen, let's say he has this connection to God. The God says, "I'm going to create a tsunami now. Run!" Yeah. And they're like 5 minutes, 4 minutes.
Cheetahs ready
now.
I wonder what the Egyptians.
Well, they had greyhounds and a rabbit on a stick. And they just...
Try and imagine the Egyptians looking at the entire nation of Israel there, and suddenly Noah or Moses, whatever, he says, "Meep meep," and they just run away. Like, what just happened? And then God smash, and they're like, "Oh, fuck it."
We need to make an episode of Looney Tunes about this now.
Everyone, shut the hell up.
I was going to say, pretty soon we're going to be able to, if another huge tsunami hits, we'll just have to drive up to Kentucky, where they'll have a life-size ark for us to ride in.
That's true.
3 guys over across the ocean, you ain't getting shit.
Well, that's because God has chosen America to be saved.
We have the idiots who will save our lives.
So when there's a deep impact, like in the movie Deep Impact, we're all safe.
And what's good about the ark is they're going to have the Amish built it, so that's going to be built right.
Well, the funny thing is, another theory, I saw on the Discovery Channel, they had a show where they tried to say, if at all the flood of Noah was possible, the first theory was that it rained for 40 days. That's not possible because the air had to be so saturated with water that it would choke everyone to death. Because it would have to be
rained over the entire world. Because it would have to be
400% humidity, which is in and of itself is impossible.
It would have to just fill the atmosphere with water, which you might as well just try and live under the sea.
Yeah, but the other theory, hold on. The other theory was that a comet impacted the Earth. I'm like, you do, and they were like, that can't be it because it would vaporize everything, including Noah and his whole fucking family. Well,
my brain's in pain. My brain has beach.
Yeah, this comet thing. I think that's Hovind. Yes, that's Dr. Hovind points out himself.
Comet. It's,
as he says that it broke up into 2 pieces, which formed Antarctica and the North Pole. I think actually it's Thunderfoot, which is actually one of his first videos he debunked.
Well, even if the polar ice caps, all of them completely melted, it would not be enough to flood the entire planet. It would severely fuck up a lot of coastal areas like Florida and other.
Screw Florida.
Yeah, fuck off.
Holland.
But
we don't need Miami anymore.
We also need to keep in mind that some of the water did ejaculate onto the moon. And onto it actually ejaculated around the moon and back to the backside because that is where most of the craters are.
Yes.
Yeah, but I think we really need Holland.
Can we not have any more talking about ejaculating round to the backside, please?
Sound is getting a little bit excited.
Is another biblical catastrophe I'd like to talk about is the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. Because
got impacted by a meteor too.
Seems to be your area of expertise.
Well, I'm gonna come on to this.
I can't really talk about Sodom and Gomorrah
I've
because my
stopped
gay
teaching other people.
roommate
I
thought.
can kind of deal with technical stuff.
That is.
If you wanted to look in, how is it possible, if ever, like, what could have caused a city like Sodom and Gomorrah to go away in fire and brimstones?
A big earthquake.
If the entire city collapsed, which is more likely, if the entire city collapsed, which is much more likely, it could have just been an earthquake, and then the story just got exaggerated to God did it.
I'll have to
turn a woman into salt because she saw it.
Yes, and this woman is 12 feet tall as well.
Yeah,
because there is actually a column of rock salt called Lot's wife, because it's got tits on the front.
Actually,
and people go, look, you see, it's proof of the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. Well, not if she was 12 feet tall, but maybe she's one of these giants that Neff is going on about all the time.
The funny thing is that somebody in one of I2I 3.5's videos, somebody mentioned, like people say, well, what about dinosaurs? Wouldn't they have eaten I2I and his? Wouldn't they have eaten Noah and his entire family? Because they're fucking dinosaurs. He's like, I think, this is completely assumption on his part. I think that dinosaurs were more of live and let live creatures, but not just that. Moses was giant, so he could fight off the
Well, I've just had the thing of why are we checking this? I'm having a slow moment.
Have you looked?
Oh yeah, I see the picture.
We're not.
Is that the new international version of the Bible?
Oh, this is going to be a meme. We have to add in that across the Red Sea.
I think we're going to have to include this when we edit this for YouTube. Congratulations on the Photoshop, Colin. Unless that happens to already be on the internet, you get everything on there.
This is a good meme.
But I was going to say that, first of all, I may be getting my biblical smitings mixed up, but I'm pretty sure this is Sodom and Gomorrah. First of all, it's not mentioned in, I forget which book of the Bible it is now, but it's not actually listed in the sins of Sodom and Gomorrah that homosexuality was in there. It was simply that they were fat, overfed, and lazy.
So they were technically America.
They were the America of their time. I do apologize to all the American listeners.
But remember that America is the saved country. By God, we were hand chosen to be saved.
Of course, it was destroyed by fire and brimstone, which is we can pretty much be sure is a volcanic eruption. The idea the hypothesis that I've heard is that Sodom and Gomorrah would have been towns on the slopes of a volcano, which is why it wouldn't have been too difficult for them to have been destroyed. But they made their money by trading in asphalt, and asphalt is basically like tar, which is brought up around volcanoes and active earthquake zones.
When did Pompeii happen?
Pompeii was in AD 79, and the whole fire and brimstone. Yeah, it would be more than likely for volcanic eruption to take out a couple of towns with pyroclastic surges and flows.
Either that, or I think it may have been a volcanic eruption and the ground, like you were talking about earlier, turned to liquid and the whole thing slipped into a lake. I'm not sure. But
are there any active volcanoes in that area around
yes,
Israel?
Yes, there are. And let's say this place is well known for producing asphalt. Whenever a bit is squeezed out of the fault zone, it bobs up to the surface of the water there, and you can just row out on a boat and collect it. And asphalt's very good for making ships waterproof and things. But what I don't get from all this is that presumably the moral of the story then, it would fit that these people were becoming overfed and lazy because they had so much money from trading asphalt, and that was why they were destroyed. Is the Bible basically telling us that commercial business success is something to be despised? Which is why games of Monopoly are taking the worse in my house.
The Catholic does list greed as one of the deadly sins.
Yes, although, well, I suppose, but as I say, it's not a very optimistic view, or not a very capitalistic
No,
view.
no, the Bible is not at all capitalistic, which is one of the things that Republicans especially have to fight with. And they
Yes.
make some weird apologetics around the fact with Jesus saying that it's easier for, it's harder for a rich man to get into
A
heaven
rich
than it
man
is
to
for a
enter the
camel.
kingdom of heaven.
Yeah, than a camel to
To enter
pass
through
through
the
the eye of the needle.
Except the eye of a needle.
No, I think I know what you're going to
There's
say,
a
and it's not.
reference to a some sort of needle gate.
No, it's
Yeah,
nothing
with
to
the
do. It's
gate-
nothing to
with the
do with a
gate in
gate. This is all a lie. This is all a lie. Jesus was really being sort of slightly sarcastic.
There are no
in saying,
lies in the Bible.
The Bible is 100% true and accurate.
it's like
Show me proof and evidence that
he was
Dilson is
basically being
accurate and correct.
sarcastic. It was like saying you try getting a Mormon out of Utah.
Raptor Jesus.
What? Everyone's seen that photo. Everyone loves Raptor Jesus.
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Hanky Voice.
Now, the Pokemons, to answer a question in the chat, were not killed in the flood. They ran away with the Digimons into the digital realm.
No, but
Ah.
no. Well, except for the fossil Pokemon. The
We
fossil
think
Pokemon were
of
all
baby
buried in the
dinosaurs.
floodwaters.
We're finding them, but we're thinking that they're baby dinosaurs.
I'm sorry, I have to interject something. This Pokemon thing made me remember a video that Roni in 1989 made about this cult of people that believed that Digimon creatures were actually real.
Oh god.
That was one of the weirdest videos. Yes. I think if you search for, let me put in, he's returning on YouTube soon, that's the rumor. He used to live in Japan as well. He's in the UK at the moment, but moving back to Japan. But this guy is definitely worth subscribing to on YouTube, and he's soon coming back and more awesome as before. But he has a video about these people believing that the Digimon monsters, the digital monsters of Digimon, are actually real. But yeah, back on the topic.
Colin, can we have Noah and Roadrunner back up, please? Just because it's the best thing I've ever seen on this
believe
show.
that the Digimon are real prove that people are inherently fucking retarded.
I love that. So, which natural disasters have we not covered yet? And have we got anyone
We've
wanting
talked
to
about
call in?
volcanoes and earthquakes. There's quite a few other examples of natural disasters because it is. I did spend some time studying geological hazards as part of my degree, and Kitch did ask for us to talk about Yellowstone Park and that volcanic complex.
Well, I'm interested in that one.
Although, do we think that how serious is that actually going to be? Because I know Rhyme Maiden Well, Claire one, as she's known now, did a series on super
from what I heard,
volcanoes.
worst case, a modern to worst case scenario for Yellowstone would be if there was an actual, if Yellowstone were to erupt in a moderate to worst case scenario, what would happen would be that the caldera would punch about, I think it was a dozen vents through the hole, since there isn't an actual vent under Yellowstone, and the eruption could last up to 7 days, and it would be bad enough to actually throw us into another ice age.
Yeah, the thing
That's
is,
what I've heard.
if you had a large number of vents open up along the caldera edge, or even within the caldera, what you could potentially do is have the whole caldera open up and the whole thing collapse down and spew out loads of crap into the atmosphere.
Which would inherently turn,
I think it would be quite interesting, though, in a million years' time or whatever, to start digging through that ash flow, because all you would find by way of fossils would be grizzly bears and tourists' cameras. And Answers in Genesis would have a field day if they found a fossilized camera.
Well, the problem with volcanic ash is that if you breathe volcanic ash in, as many of the geologists, I guess, would know, is that the ash
in your lungs.
The ash that gets into your lungs mixes with the water and humidity in your lungs that's naturally there, and it becomes cement.
Yeah.
So that's
the picture that Colin has just put up for us is showing us the 3 volcanic eruptions that has occurred in the sort of 2 million years that Yellowstone has been active. And you can see that there's I'm just trying to read the scale here. Lava Creek, something other. Then you've got the Huckleberry Ridge, and you've got the third one that's in the middle. There was a fairly good BBC dramatization, kind of like a mockumentary of what might happen if Yellowstone went up again, and they predicted an eruption event, or they played about with an eruption event similar to the Huckleberry Ridge event, and that's, if anyone's got access to it, I don't know if it's been broken up and put onto YouTube. It's actually fairly good and fairly accurate in terms of the science.
Just see if I can find it on YouTube as the research bitch.
Yeah, be the research bitch. Research for me, bitch.
Yes, it is on there. It's called Super Volcano. And I'll put the link in the chat in case anybody would like to bookmark it and watch it later. But you're not going away from the show.
Was
now.
that made by the BBC? I thought that was made by the Discovery Channel. The Super Volcano.
They would have sold it to Discovery, but
well, that's because America's better.
No, Great Britain is better than the United States.
We don't need.
How many super volcanoes are there in the world? That's like 5 or 7.
Oh, there's that. Well, there has been a great number. Glencoe in Scotland is the remains of a super volcano. I'm having brain freeze moments. There was.
Just having...
Oh, shush you. But there's also there's another one in the States, Long Valley or something. We don't know as much about where the super volcanoes are as I do about other volcanoes. But certainly if you wikied super volcanoes, you'd get a list.
Sorry, but the video showing right now, what's that? The video that's shown.
Yeah, that was, for anyone that was watching the Blog TV screen, that was a little snippet of the Super Volcano program.
And to DPI, yes, Edinburgh Castle is built on an old magma chamber of a long extinct volcano. So
yeah, there is a volcanic plug in Holyrood Park. It's called Arthur's Seat.
Can I just say, I've done some more calculations, and worst case scenario for Noah and the Israelites is that they would have to have been running at 2,400 miles per hour to get across the estuary in time. But yes, God did it.
They
it
were flying
at,
what is it? I think that's 4 times the speed of sound.
Something like that.
Yeah, they're using scramjets.
Their skeletons would arrive before the rest of them.
My sound dropped out. I had to leave the call and rejoin.
Oh, I was saying that the worst case for Moses and the Israelites, they'd have had to run at 2,400 miles per hour, which is about 4 times the speed of sound. About 4 times the speed of sound.
So they were using scramjets.
So that's 4 times as fast as you. I think they could manage that.
As I said, their skeletons would arrive before the rest of them.
Wouldn't that make them pass out?
Yeah, well, it would do more than
they'd actually, to be able to do that, they'd have to all be Kryptonian. That's the only way they could do it. Superman's people fell back in
what I'm picturing right now is that God, he took down his hand, grabbed all the people and just threw them across the fucking river.
Or like a catapult of God. No! All thrown.
Anyway, well, should we get back to...
Jesus never walked on the water. He actually skipped along the water because God threw him at Mach 4.
Oh, I don't know which is more ridiculous, parting the Red Sea or running across it at 2,400 miles per hour. In fact, if you run at about 70 miles per hour, I think it is, you actually reach planing speed and you could run on water.
So
it's something like that.
That reminds me of, in Iceland, you actually have this race where they have these monster trucks actually can drive on water.
Yeah, and quad bikes and things like that have been modified. This is quite cool.
I would like that. I would call it like the Jesus Mobile. The Pub Mobile should be done like that.
I do love the people
What y'all don't know is that Jesus was actually a Jedi. So he could actually come back in blue form, kind of like what Obi-Wan Kenobi did.
Oh, don't diss
enrolled in
the
the
Church of Jedi, which is a recognized religion in the UK.
Yes,
I think
unfortunately.
that's
Church of Jedi.
no, I don't think it is
Possibly not
recognised.
anymore.
No, it wasn't recognised, but
Oh,
I know there was a large number of people that put it on the census last time it was done to try and get it recognised.
I thought it was recognized because there was an ordeal like 6 years ago where a guy just as a Jedi was not allowed to go into a mall, but Muslim women in burqas were, and he was like, "This is my religion. I'm a Jedi."
And against like security people, it probably would have got through, but I'm not sure about it actually being a proper religion here.
they are excluded from any kind of protection alongside Satanists, Scientologists, sexists, racists, and believers in animal or human sacrifice, according
Don't
to
forget about
Wikipedia.
autism.
Yeah, don't forget about believers in art.
Yeah, yeah.
They're part of the racial and religious hatred bill, which I think seems a little bit unfair, seeing as they're the good guys.
What about the Church of Sith?
Yeah, exactly. They're quite happy to let that.
So Scientology is not a recognized religion in the UK.
Yeah.
Not in the
It's
UK.
not a religion here.
Should
Oh, great! Just like in
We
Denmark.
could skip around going cult outside of their headquarters, and they just have to suck it up.
Mm.
As Ari put, UK is
Mossad.
Mossad.
Mossad. But
Mossad.
Eritano, his spelling is, not quite so smart.
Microsoft Art? I don't know.
Mossad.
What about
We're
tornadoes?
the UK is 8-bit.
I wonder about tornadoes. Do we have any stories about tornadoes being caused by deities or sin? Because I know about hurricanes, they hit Katrina and so on, being caused by the gay people. But the French Quarter was protected, as the ancients experienced said it was because of the gay shield.
Yeah.
No, that's not how it works. According to Pat Robertson, Katrina was God punishing New Orleans for their history of voodoo.
Okay.
9/11 was God. 9/11 was God punishing America for us being tolerant of gay people. And the earthquake in Haiti was God punishing the Haitians for selling their soul to the devil to get the French out back during the Haitian revolts back in the early 1800s.
God must be really
and this is completely serious. This is
slow
what
if
Pat
it took
Robertson.
that long.
What?
Boldly go where no Israelite has gone before.
I think we started you guys.
Oh my god, this is great.
Jeez, that's funny.
What does it for me is his blasé expression, as if he does this all the time.
Oh,
Death Star or something.
Captain, we need to cross the Red Sea. Oh, put it in Warp 5, sir. Aye, aye.
He looks like he's saying, for fuck's
Go to
sake,
maximum
Scotty, the
force.
engines can he never take no more. I forget how that was relevant, but anyway.
That wasn't me at my
Just
worst.
can't take it anymore, Moses.
Really tackle.
I was hoping to discuss how people make the link between natural disasters being as the result of, say, homosexuality, but I think we would all struggle to come up with a justifiable reason for it.
What it is, it's the whole kind of religion as control of the masses. You're talking about in a scenario situation where a major disaster's happened. Obviously, people are going to be massively upset. I mean, if you try and imagine yourself in the position of the people in Japan, there's lots of people that lost homes. There'll be a reasonable number of people that lost family members. They're going to be pretty upset. I'm pretty distraught. And this is when people could be open to the suggestion of, come, take in our, religion, because they're really grieving. They want someone to tell them that everything's going to be okay.
If you believe in us, your house won't fall down in a earthquake.
And if in the future you wear this, and this, you do this, you don't do that, you only eat these foods, you don't eat that food, you do these things on certain days, then you will be safe, and that will be how it all gets linked in. The idea that something happened because people were bad, and it's that control thing.
Well, the thing that makes me disgusted about for some Christian charities is that, yes, some of them are doing a lot of good, but sadly there is the underlying thing that they are going there as missionaries for God. And when they go up to people who have just experienced a devastating natural disaster, like an earthquake of this size, and they go up to them and they say, you know, have you found Jesus? You'll get a sandwich. And these
you know what? If I
can't,
was, sorry,
and these people can't say no because they're fucked.
Whereas there was that lady in America who got a cheese sandwich and found Jesus.
No, it was.
Yeah, I mean,
it was Mary,
I've
wasn't
often
it?
thought that.
To the Virgin Mary.
I mean,
Yeah,
if I'm honest,
equally as retarded, but whatever.
if I,
She cried.
Yeah, I think-
Can I just say an idea that's occurred to me after reading something that somebody read in the chat? Being a plant scientist, I had to kind of bring these things around, but I reckon it was just the miracle of the Israelites' escape from Egypt was simply due to some anomalous floral growth which parted the water separating Egypt from Israel, and that it was mosses that parted the Red Sea. Sorry, that is terrible, but carry on, everyone.
yeah,
It wasn't worth it at all, but I liked it.
I think I must admit, if I was ever helping with a relief effort after some sort of natural disaster, and if I saw a religious person trying to say, you know, it's God's punishment, it's like it'd just be tempting just to walk up and punch them a bit and just say, "Where's your God now? It was an earthquake. Deal with it. Grow up."
As you can see on this photo, the picture here.
That picture
I like that.
That's the
motivator. You had loads of religious groups that went to Haiti after the earthquakes, and Scientologists as well, putting hands on people, and this is obviously taking advantage of people in a very stressful emotional situation, and I hope that the Japanese people are more secular and rational than the slightly more superstitious Haitian, that they would see through this gobble bobble. But
there is this.
The problem with Haiti is that since they are a third world country, they can't be as knowledgeable as someone. We can't be as they can't be as knowledgeable as someone like Japan or the United States or the United Kingdom. So when you're not knowledgeable, when you're not learned in anything, or as to the extent that we are, you're more prone to believing in magic, and that is what religion ultimately is. So when you go and tell these people, you know, there's this guy up in heaven who's offering you sky cake, you know, if you're good, he will give you eternal bliss once you die, they'll believe that. And it's kind of disgusting because ultimately you are picking at the bottom of the barrel. And that's kind of disgusting if you actually think about it.
Just to quickly jump in while there's a pause, Bear has found something. It seems that the Red Cross are trying to raise some money for the relief effort in Japan, and I think this one only works for if you're an American citizen with an American phone. But if you text Red Cross to 90999, it will donate $10 to the relief effort, and I'm assuming that $10 will be the cost of sending the text. I know there's a similar thing going on in the UK at the moment for people trying, if they're wanting to give money to comic relief, which is something that the UK does every other year, and it's sort of that basis on the UK and Africa. But yeah, the Red Cross are obviously trying to raise some money. Bear suggested we might want to see if we can get some funds together, or donations for the Red Cross thing.
For those who don't have a cell phone that can text or don't want to, or live outside the United States, you can go to redcross.org. On the top right, there's a red button that says Donate Now, or whatever it would say in your language. And in the U.S., the top thing you can donate to on the list of things you can specify where your funds go to is Japan earthquake and Pacific tsunami relief efforts. So you can donate as much or as little as you want to. Every little bit helps.
And you know, this is a very big tragedy. So I think it is appropriate to bring it up. It happening has it been 2 days since it happened? Or 3 days?
2 or 3 days.
Yeah, it's been 2 days since this disaster happened. I get slightly off topic. I'll hope you guys forgive me. But, you know, people ask us, atheists, you know, if there is no God, why does death matter? And that, for one thing, that's a stupid fucking question. But secondly, being atheists, we don't believe in an afterlife or eternity. So when somebody dies, that's it. Their time is up. So every second that you have on this planet is precious, and the fact that so many people had their lives come to a screeching halt is extremely sad. That so many people have just died.
Yeah, at current, I'm not trying to harp my own horn here, but since I offered people should text, I'm currently texting the Red Cross to 90999. They send you a reply text message. Please reply to this with YES to confirm your donation. So I'm
Okay,
going to go ahead.
I've just had a little fun idea. I'm, as people might see if they go to my channel, I'm currently a bit pants in terms of I can't make videos at the moment because I don't know how to operate my video making stuff. But I've just had a thought. If we have a little competition, if you think you can make a interesting video to promote the idea of donating some money to the Red Cross to help with the Japanese relief effort, send the entries to me and I will pick the one that I think is the best one, and I will donate £10 to the relief effort on behalf of the person whose video has won.
I'll one up that. Actually, I'll one up that. If whoever makes a video that I find to be the most, whatever Womble just said, I'll donate $100 in that person's name.
Woo, $100. And that's U.S. That's top dollar in the world.
Can we have that in Canadian dollars?
Yeah, then we can blame Canada.
Right now. It took me right away. Is it all 909? Right. Text the Red Cross to 909.
There's muttering going on.
Yeah. I did all the caps though.
Oh, maybe that's it.
There's like this private conversation going on between you two.
Sorry, I'm trying to donate money right now, and
it says thanks. $10 charged to your phone bill for American Red Cross. Reply help for help, or visit redcross.org/m. Reply stop to cancel. So you can still cancel out of it in case you don't want to do it, but
in case you want to be a dick. But
yeah,
but it's
no. See this way, if I see 2 or 3 videos that I like, I can always up the money that I do. But yeah, if you think you can make an interesting video, put it in a message, and if I put your video on my channel, then I will put £10 in the pot.
Or could we donate a certain amount of money for every entry we have? That's one possibility.
I don't know if I'm that rich, but
okay.
There was other people that wanted to chip in, and we can make more of a thing of it.
But yes, I've already donated a small amount. I'm going to say how much, but I will match whatever Womble puts in as well.
As an unemployed single father, I'm sadly to inform that I can't donate anything.
That's fine. But yeah, try and come up with a humorous video that entertains me. Sorry.
Womble, I have to interrupt you. I'm sorry, but I have to give this person a shout out. Mr. Jim, it's spelled Mr. JMM 999, just donated $100 to the Red Cross to help the relief efforts in Japan. So everyone give him a round of applause. Yay.
Hey.
That's clapping, not clapping.
Oh, I was just giving him a celebratory round of... Anyway.
Oh, clapping, not fapping. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Excuse me while I wipe my keyboard.
This is turning into a bit of an impromptu fundraiser thing. But yeah, anything that people could spare for this sort of thing would be good.
Because us atheists are naturally evil. So we're doing this
clearly heartless. I'm saying entertain me and I'll give my money away for you.
We are doing this to convert people to atheism, the most brilliant religion in the world. All hail Dawkins.
Tectonicism is the religion I'm going for, mister.
We just need 9 more texts to make my goal. Come on.
Lewis,
I'm trying to...
Lewis, I'm having trouble finding Mr. Jim's channel. Can you...
Yeah.
Or is he in the...
Mr. Jim 999 is in the thing. In fact, I think for doing that... Oh, that's the wrong button. I'm going to make him an operator for the rest of the show, but he's got to behave, otherwise I'll de-op him.
So So is Mr. Jim still on YouTube? I've found people responding to him, but I can't seem to find his channel still on. But I was going to say, we were talking about the conversion of people in situations of crisis, following the Haiti tsunami, wasn't it?
Yes.
And
Haiti had the earthquake.
I was going to say, there's a very old and hackneyed expression about atheists converting to God in times of crisis, which is there are no atheists on the deck of a sinking ship. And the ultimate retort I've heard to that is, no, the atheists are all down in the engine room trying to help.
Yeah.
For those in Canada, the text in Canada is 30333. Text Red Cross all as one word. I think it's only $5 if you do that there, but you can text it as many times as you want.
Well, what's
Do
actually
it 2 times, you Canadian.
What's actually weird about this thing, people converting people in a time of crisis, I remember in Denmark, we had an earthquake, bloody Denmark, and it's not a big earthquake, it was like a really small one. It's like if a fat bloke ran into a door and you felt the slight shock wave. But still, the religious groups in Denmark, which are not that many, still were like, oh my God, it's the end of the world. This is the revelations, everything. They were making videos on YouTube about it, trying to convert people, but the Danes are like, who fucking gives a shit? If the world ends, it fucking ends. We can't do shit about it anyway.
Well, I remember a few days ago there was an earthquake, I think in Arkansas, and the media was playing it as the strongest earthquake that has hit Arkansas since, I think they said 1969. Do you guys know how strong the earthquake was? It was like a 5.7. It was fucking nothing.
I think the one that hit Denmark was like a 3 point or 2 point. It was barely noticeable. It felt like someone actually just slightly shaking. It's not really a shaking. It's like more like a rumble, like a big freight train running past your house. But that was not for the Christians in Denmark to be like, oh my God, the end is near and so on. Bloody yeah.
Okay.
You know that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah,
just to chip in on the Red Cross thing, if you're listening in the UK, you can't do a text
As I
or
say,
voting.
I've been looking. There isn't such a thing in the UK. You can donate via their website.
But I am going to post the. There is a phone number that you can, if you are UK based and you want to donate any spare funds that you have. There is a phone number that you can call, and I'll post the link, and you can click to donate sums of money in as 18, 25, £50 or other.
Let's make this a friendly wager too. Let's say that we can raise more money on our show than Magic Sandwich Show can raise on their next one.
Yeah.
Oh, but DPR Jones has heard this now, so he's,
yeah, but it doesn't matter how much money we raise. We're raising money for this first.
That's true. As long as they beat us, that seems well.
And they don't have a Moses on a rocket.
They can't pass.
Hicks has just asked a question of what is the chance of a big quake hitting the UK? Slim to fuck all. We don't live near any active fault zones. We do get small earthquakes that are maybe around 2 on the Richter scale, if we're lucky.
I should say that there are phenomena known as intraplate earthquakes, which happen well away from tectonic margins, but nobody knows what causes them.
No, we're not sure. Aside from the fact that it involves decoupling of the crust and the mantle. But if an earthquake, I'd say even as kind of moderate as 6 or 7 on the Richter scale, hit London, it would be bent over backwards many times in harsh ways it shouldn't be bent over, and taken roughly by several rugby teams worth of angry people, and there wouldn't be much left but rubble.
I was wondering one thing about the tectonic plates, Wombles, they might answer. Could they break and form 2 new separate tectonic plates, or are they static?
Tectonic plates can be split apart. It's what happened when the Atlantic Ocean formed. Anytime you have a new ocean basin forming, you have tectonic plates separating. It's what's happening under the African Rift, at the point of the region of the African Rift Valley at the moment, that there is a spreading centre starting to form, but it's geologically starting.
If I could give you
So it's a long process. It's not a catastrophic like earthquake
No.
thing, but it's just and it's like some cracking a dime or something like that.
It probably will. The actual splitting open will probably happen in sort of fairly short, sharp phases, but it's not, you can't watch the plates drift apart in the space of a day. It will happen over millions of years. To give you an example, the way in which it happens is that a particularly hot plume of the Earth's mantle comes up and it heats the crust up and starts to make it more ductile, and so it thins out. And it's actually what formed the North Sea. Hot mantle plume came up underneath the North Sea and made it thin out, which is why it's dipped below sea level. And then, for reasons that are unknown, that hotspot then shifted to where the modern day Atlantic is now. But it's thanks to that we are separated from you in Denmark and never have to worry about you invading again anytime soon.
We are still planning on it, though.
You are not. You wouldn't dare.
Well, us Americans are planning on getting some payback for the War of 1812, so you guys should be afraid of us more than Denmark.
Canada.
But doesn't Denmark have Norway to worry about? That's what Hamlet told me.
But Denmark, all they have are horses and longbows. So
And old Denmark. Don't they have Norway to worry about? I mean, didn't Hamlet fuck you guys up once a long time ago?
No, that was the British 200 years ago. But the British Prime Minister, I think Gordon Brown, actually did say sorry for it. Though when we came over with a Viking boat like some years ago to Dublin, they were expecting the Danish government to say sorry for what we did in the Viking Ages. We're like, fuck no, we're Danes. No, sorry for that. That's a long time ago.
I'm just can I check? Was Lewis alluding to the fact that Prince Hamlet was a real person?
No, I'm joking. I'm not really
okay,
serious.
thank God for that. I was about to tear you to pieces on that one, but okay.
But either way, I got it back. I said that Hamlet was from Norway, but I had it backwards because he's from Denmark, so I'm stupid. So.
Yeah,
well, you are American.
You're thinking of Macbeth, which was the Norwegians trying to invade
the
Scotland.
game.
But what natural disasters would we have to worry about? What the fuck just happened?
I said the game.
It was just lost us the game.
Okay, do we have any natural disasters to worry about here in the UK, Netherlands, and Denmark? I know Netherlands have just like rainfall and they would just drown everyone.
Flooding is a problem, of course.
Yeah.
True.
If the size of La Palma collapsed, La Palma is one of the Canary Islands. It could cause a tsunami that could potentially cause some damage to the UK. Landslides, mudslides are the sorts of things that would be a hazard in the UK, as well as flooding, depending on what's going on. I know of a few impressive events that have happened due to landslide. There's the 1964, there's what's called the Aberfan disaster, and it's a mining town in Wales called Aberfan, and they had just piled up all their spoilage from the mining works just to the side of the hill without realizing it was covering a spring, and all of a sudden it went and it shot through their school. There was a dam that they built in Italy to create a water reservoir, and it looked like the rocks were sort of dipping horizontally, but it was the apparent dip, not the true dip, and they're actually at an angle. And so there was this big storm, and the rocks fell in from both sides of the valley into the dam, filled it up. The water leapt out the top. I think there was minimum structural damage to the dam, but of course the water leapt out and shot down and took out an Italian town.
But that's not really a natural disaster. Putting up a dam and the dam fails to do its work, that's not really natural. That's us messing with nature, so to say.
Well, if you built something in the wrong place and nature does what it does, well, then it's still a natural disaster of a sort caused by a landslide.
Yeah, sure.
Chris made a good point about a natural disaster that you guys have to worry about that you didn't think of.
America invading?
No, Germany. Germany getting pissed off again.
Oh, we held them off for a good number of years without you last time. We can do it again until you wake up and realize there's a problem.
I think actually one natural disaster we have to worry about, which is a sort of a link to our biology, obesity and lifestyle illness.
Let's
Oh,
not
that's a
talk about
natural
it.
That's a
disaster.
health issue, not a natural disaster.
Well, biology is natural.
No, Kelson.
There's like going.
All
Woof.
right, then we'll call them acts of God in the loosest sense of the term.
Biology is
There
a
have
lie
been in
created by
recent years. There
evolution.
have been some very severe storms to hit Britain. I'm trying to find the death tolls of some of them, but I'm surprisingly elusive, even on Wikipedia.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not quite as clued up on storms as I am on some of the more geological.
I mean, although it sort of pales into insignificance compared to a lot of what's going on in Japan at the moment, but the Burnsday storm of 1990, their death toll was 47 people in the UK.
Oh my God, no!
So yeah, there was also the flash flood which hit Boscastle sometime in the 80s.
Yeah.
I can't remember when, which killed a grand total of no people, but got on the local news because a lot of people had their carpets ruined and.
Oh, it did.
It interrupted people's afternoon tea and all the rest of it. So.
We had a great storm also. It's actually classed as a hurricane in the wind speed. And we had like 2 people that died. One got hit by a tree that fell on his car. The other one was hit by a tile from the roof. Like 2 people died. But also the Danish building.
When it comes to hurricanes.
Yeah. But also the Danish building regulations are actually built to withstand actually quite powerful earthquakes for some weird reason.
That's kind of pointless. That's like someone in Arizona getting prepared for flash flooding.
Exactly. It's the building code is that they have to withstand a moderate to strong earthquake, basically. And yeah, for some reason it's built like that, so you can't really tipple over. I think we've read too many stories about the 3 pigs and the wolves. So I don't want fucking wolves coming and blowing over our houses.
Are there any other stories about them other than that famous one, the 3 little pigs?
No.
Because I don't know of any other stories. You say you've been reading too many. I didn't think there were any others.
Well,
maybe in Denmark you just recycle stories all the time, but
instead of Cinderella, it was Pigorella.
It is the land of the Vikings where they have perpetual midnight, and they have to dodge enraged Santa wannabes every so often.
Pigorella and the 2 ugly step piglets, and the first one wore a dress made of straw, the second one wore a dress made of twigs, and the third one wore a dress made of bricks. And
she was so ugly.
And she didn't pull that night.
When you see her, you'll shit bricks. Well, like Hyena said also, a natural disaster we have to worry about perhaps is a new ice age. We had one like 2 centuries ago. In Denmark, we remember it because it made the Swedish army capable of walking across the sea that separates Denmark from Sweden. That was a small one. But what if such a small ice age happened again? Is that possible within our lifetime?
Yeah, you could have a mini ice age, although I think something like that would do some
Colin on here.
The potato situation in certain countries.
If you're talking about
another famine.
If you're talking about a small ice age as being sort of 10 years, then no.
But still, 10 years would affect our infrastructure, especially just driving infrastructure, because people, even if just frozen here for like 1 day, I think like 1,000 people drive into the ditch within like 6 hours. Stupid people.
Well, that's why they cancel schools in Texas if there's even an inch of snow.
Well, we don't even cancel school all the time.
Because we see snow, we're like, holy fuck, what has happened? People in Texas see snow as a sign of the oncoming apocalypse.
I once had to go to school even though I was knee-high in snow and there are no buses going.
Oh, look! Oh, I just seen a picture on Skeptic TV. It's so cute. Aww. He's a little kitten in a hat and a scarf.
Yeah, but when nightfall comes, it freezes to death. It's not cute anymore. Then it's a kidsicle.
Kitty-sicle.
Oh.
There's another flood happening in the UK right now, thanks to Womble.
Oh, that's disgusting. Womble, that's a picture of Womble when she was little going to school.
Should we just briefly? I know we did bad movie science once before, but should we talk briefly about the day after tomorrow and about the likelihood of natural disasters on those kinds of scales happening? I mean, it could be a very quick discussion. We just go, no, it's all bollocks and move on. But
Our worst one would be 2012 with the Earth.
Oh no, you had to fucking mention that, didn't you?
I know you love that movie.
Why? Down and beat you senseless, Tilson.
We've got a troll in. We've got a troll in chat. Hicks35 says good film.
Oh, God. Where the hell is he? He's gone.
I watched it because there was a Danish actor in it.
I think that's an abuse of power, Womble.
Oh no! He swore. He swore. He put up that film. He swore.
Blasphemer.
As if you don't swear on these programs. Anyway, so yes, 2012. I've not seen this film, so I know there's a lot of buckling of the Earth going on.
Oh,
from that.
a lot. The Earth is basically going apart. It's like it's made like out of sandstone. It's like fuck it, I don't want to be together anymore. It like goes, yeah, it just opens up.
It's all bollocks. Big fat
utter bollocks.
It is utter royal fucking bollocks.
And
spoiler, it ends with Noah. Basically, they're all saved by arcs.
And the most important thing at the end of the film, no more pull-ups, despite the fact that all usable resources are completely fucked.
Well, that's why we do have that the Americans do have that doomsday vault, where they have some of every seed or whatever from every crop.
Yeah, but
that is,
does that exist?
Find out.
Yes, it does. They do have
usable resources like the coal and the ores and all that. So the only places we can generally get to them is by massive strip mines or really deep mines.
What did you ask though, Tilden? Is that real?
Yeah, because wouldn't they have to replace the seeds now and then? Don't they have an expiration?
They do. They add to it all the time.
And we also have one in Holland.
Well, there.
I think, isn't there an international one that was dug somewhere? Yeah, I think there was an international one in the Arctic Circle.
And there's one in Q as well.
So what is that meant for? If the world's going to end, we could restart it?
Oh, well, we could try.
We'd be probably fucked, epically.
Jay Hyena, we added the weed seeds.
Likely.
Is Jay Hyena another Dutchman then, or Dutch woman? Oh, they're everywhere.
Hollanderland person.
Godverdomme, wat ben je lelijk. That's my Dutch.
Watch
no
it,
swearing on the channel, please.
It doesn't count when it's Dutch. It's barely a language. It's just grunting.
Okay, where's that kick button?
I'm gonna go ahead and block you.
I tell you, disagree with me. 2012 is the best John Cusack film ever.
Oh God!
I was thinking about tornadoes. About bad movies. You talked about Twist as well.
We haven't done tornadoes on the show, have we?
No, we haven't. I
the funny thing
know nothing about them.
Because the funny thing to me is stupid fucking people who live in tornado-prone areas. But the thing is they say, well, yeah, you did. But the thing is that you see a town that has been completely destroyed by a tornado, and then they're like, so what are you gonna do now? We're gonna rebuild. It's like this is the third time this has happened. Like, what are you gonna do now? Rebuild?
Yeah, they're even more stupid than the people that live in earthquake-proof zones, because earthquakes, it's every 10 years or so. Yeah, there's a frequency to these. In the tornado places, it could be every bloody year.
It's every couple of months.
But at least one thing about tornadoes, you don't hear many Christian apologetics go out about it, say this is because sinners, because I think it's because it happens.
So common.
Exactly.
I mean, in one year, I think it was in 2005, it was the most tornadoes ever recorded in the United States. It was 1,700 tornadoes in a year.
But I also think the power behind a tornado is not as vast as a earthquake, because we have literally tens of thousands of earthquakes happening each year. But it
Well, a
gets
tornado can destroy an entire town in a matter of minutes.
earthquake could destroy an entire country.
That's you mad, Japan?
You know that actually the UK actually has. Oh, sorry.
A bunch of billionaires can destroy can destroy an entire football season. Chris said.
The UK actually has. Yeah, the UK actually has the highest concentration of tornadoes of anywhere in the world. We just have really small shit ones.
Yeah, occasionally they'll go across like the Midlands and take off a few roofs of houses.
Yeah, crack a couple of chimneys and things.
Yeah, that's it. It's like the reason why this country is so great. Yeah, we have natural disasters. They're just little ones. They're not very disruptive, and we've got nice-sized mountains, so you can learn how to climb them before conquering someone else's.
Yes. I'll just also I'll just debunk very quickly a widespread myth surrounding tornadoes, which is that if your house does get caught in a tornado, you don't end up in Oz.
Aww. Damn it.
Oh, jeez.
I think that's the reason why they're rebuilding. They want to go to a better place like ours.
There's no place like home. There's no place like...
There's no place like Texas.
I used to have a really bad comeback.
Oh, hey guys, it's almost 2200 GMT. Any last questions? Anything else we should discuss in channel?
Yes, very quickly in the last moments.
Remember, a fun competition. I might do some more.
No, hang on a minute. I'm sorry, I'm not going to share this with the people listening. But what the heck has Womble just posted in the Skype chat? I mean, I don't doubt its validity, but it's not really relevant.
You don't want to read it.
There's all kinds. I mean, yes, there's all kinds of things up there, but it doesn't really need addressing right now.
Is it warm and cozy?
Don't.
I've never been.
Chinchilla is.
After that minor aside, has anybody got any questions they'd like addressed in the last couple of minutes? Before we go. We did start 5 minutes late, so it's probably fair that we stay 5 minutes late.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Because the geologist wanted an ice cream before the show.
James, shut the fuck up.
Sorry.
To say for DPR Jones' happiness, please donate to any of the relief efforts currently going on, including Doctors Without Borders, Red Cross, whatever you can afford, please do it. And I will put up a video later today, if you don't donate during the show, about something you can earn if you donate after the show.
And like I said, this is sincere. This is coming from Ellie Fayad 1991, for those of you who don't know who's talking. If you make a video, if you make a video that makes people more aware of how to donate money to the relief efforts in Japan, I will choose, and you send it to me on YouTube, I will choose the one that I think is best, and I will donate $100 to the Red Cross in that person's name. So, and that's sincere.
Because you one up me on that, because you stole my idea and one up. I will do my thing, of which is pretty much the same as Lafayette Limfreeze, but I will be looking at maybe more than just the one video. So there's 2 video comps that you can enter and get some money given to the relief effort.
Yes, and I will be matching Womble's bid, and I will mirror whichever video she picks out. Yeah, I don't want to set up another competition, otherwise it's going to get ridiculous.
Somebody just told me to go jump in a cold pool. Sadly, it's not freezing in Texas anymore, so it won't be as dramatic as the last time I did it.
Go jump in a really hot pool then.
Huh?
Go jump in a really hot one. Is there like, I don't know, a thermophilic bacteria plunge where you have to jump into a swimming pool that's at 100 degrees? Or rather boiling point?
Hot-boiled.
No, that's not that hot.
The highest Texas probably have patent pans that's big enough to boil a whole ark, so you could probably find somewhere to jump in this hot.
I could go jump into a bacteria.
Dress up.
And
Next winter,
I can
dress
jump into
up as Noah's Ark and jump in a really cold swimming pool.
Or
and see
put a
if you
polar bear
float.
costume on and try the jump.
That's for furries.
I can do a disease. I can jump into a disease-ridden body of water, and by that I mean I could jump into the Hudson River.
How many
That might
animals
be a
can fit
possibility.
inside Lewis?
That's a charity fundraiser if ever I heard it. For every animal we can fit inside Lewis, I'll donate £10 to charity.
Look, from the inside,
I will do 50.
Ants don't count. Right, they're very different species.
they smell worse on the inside than they do on the outside.
Oh.
Do I get bonus points if I jump on top of a kid?
Oh my goodness.
Like,
Depends on whether or not DPR Jones is currently inside it.
Ew.
He's the one that gave me the idea for what I said about there's no place like.
Oh no.
Yes, but should we share that? Should we share that after the show ends? If people want to stick around on Blog TV and hear what you wrote.
Yeah.
So hang around with that if you want to watch. It's the equivalent of Skeptic TV Uncut, the extra show. Or would you go?
Uncut. Now that's a euphemism.
Oh no!
Yeah, Hicks, you actually do not know the half of it.
Yeah, keep it clean.
Yeah, where is
Yeah, everyone feels sorry for Greeble. She's going to put up with me tonight.
I wondered who Greeble was all this time. I feel sorry for you, Greeble.
Undergrad. So she's put up with me for 10 years.
Right, is there anything to say before we close the show down?
I hope Japan rebuilds from this terrible disaster, but it happened. The best thing we can do as human beings is just get together and make this as good as possible for them.
Yeah.
No sense on praying, just do something.
yeah, like somebody said, a wise man once said that one pair of hands at work does more than a million hands clasped in prayer. So hopefully, with the money that you are able to give, you can give a pair of hands or multiple pairs of hands the resources needed to actually do something and help the people in Japan. Because what happened is extremely sad. And just to clear something up, because someone did say or mentioned Haiti. The reason, right now, Haiti has been giving a lot of money. Actually, I'm just going to cut that short because we need to go.
Yeah, thank you all for stopping by. I appreciate it. Lewis and I are going to have fun here in Austin while we're together.
Oh.
So that's for us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Take care, everyone.
On tonight.
Cheers,
I hope
everyone.
you enjoy your evenings and think about whether or not you can help out somehow, or where you would like to help out, and do what you can.
And before we go, were you just going to thank the panel?
Yes. I was distracted for a moment. So we had sound with us, Lafayette Free. We had Dutch Liam and Tilsum in the call. And as always, we must thank he who is the reason why we're able to do this and seems so slick and awesome and professional and like we have the
and better than the Magic Sandwich Show.
Yeah, we run so much smoother.
Much
it's just
better.
down to whether or not we actually are on the ball and not eating ice cream mid-show.
Yes. So until next time.
Good news, everyone. We'll be back.
Goodbye, everyone.
That's me giving you a plod womble.
2 weeks' time.